Hi, thank you for watching my video. If you haven't checked out my previous ones, please do so you have an idea of what we're talking about. We're talking about an area in northern Chad in the Sahara Desert. So as the title describes, the wildlife of Atlantis, as described by Plato. So he specifically talks about what kind of wildlife inhabits the island of Atlantis, and we're just going to take a look at the Sahara and what kind of evidence we can find of wildlife that could be living in Atlantis. Okay, as the Sahara Desert is currently a desert, we briefly talked about the Green Sahara theory in an earlier video. I'll probably go over that in a later video. But at this time period and for quite a while now, it's been a desert, pretty sparsely inhabited by anything. So to look at any sort of wildlife that could have lived here 12,000 years plus, we're going to have to look at rock art in the area. So there are tons of rock carvings and rock paintings in the area, in the Tassili mountain range, the Hogar, and around the place pretty well everywhere. Everywhere you look seems to be petroglyphs and other sorts of things describing the life of the area. So most of the ones that we'll be looking at are from the Bovidian time period, which is pre 5000 or 4.5, 5000 BC. Seems that everything is kind of like that. When it's super old, they're like, well, it's before 5000 BC. So let's take a look at some of that art and yeah, just see what they were drawing and probably what the people were seeing. Okay, so here's what Plato said. Sufficient maintenance for tame and wild animals. Moreover, there was a great number of elephants in the island. For as there was provision for all other sorts of animals, both for those which live in lakes and marshes and rivers, and also for those which live in mountains and on plains. So there was for the animal which is the largest, the most voracious of all. Plato. So that's what he says. So when we look in this area, we think, wow, lots of carvings of elephants. So as he says, if there's food for the largest and most voracious of all, there's food for elephants. That means there's going to be food for everything else. So that gives us a huge thumbs up, I believe, to the Green Sahara theory. I don't think all these people were coming up or commuting around and decided to draw a pile of elephants. They were probably hunting or looking at elephants and they saw them. As for all the other animals they saw, I believe it's the same. They probably had them in the area. You'll see that most of the drawings are extremely accurate. So let's continue on. Couple more shots of elephants that are in the area. If you go on Google, as I said, you'll find tons of drawings. You'll see lots of elephants. Pretty incredible. As I said, they're very accurate. With elephants, they need lots of water, so you'd have obviously hippopotamus living in the area. There's quite a few depictions of hippopotamus in the area as well. Here's a really nice one. These are described as storks or pelicans, for sure living in wet environments. Seems to be a lot of them where there's storks and pelicans. There's fish, rivers, lakes. Here's some more birds, obviously water birds by their long legs. Not sure what kind, but obviously they like to hang out in water, which is Not in the Sahara Desert currently. Here's kind of a funky one. It looks like two big jellyfish, I guess. That's what a lot of people say it is. Freshwater jellyfish, I guess. They're not like really big, but it looks pretty similar to whatever these paintings are on the wall. So this is all, in the Tassili. This is quite far away from modern Lake Chad, and these drawings are quite old. You can definitely see some sort of antelope or some sort of long horned sheep. I'm not sure if that would be living in the mountain range or on the plains, but just another cool animal that is no longer in the area. Just an interesting fact that apparently there were manatees that lived in Lake Chad and live off the runoff areas. So that's pretty neat. If you had people living in the Arunga crater and it was connected to Lake Chad, they could just go out in their little boats and catch themselves a manatee. I'm sure that would be pretty easy pickings. Just really interesting to think about that the mega lakes were connected by rivers to the saltwater oceans, even down to the Atlantic and up to the Mediterranean to allow passage for all sorts of animals to come into the lakes and evolve over time. Potentially even freshwater dolphins, maybe. That'd be really cool. We looked at animals that can live in the lakes, rivers, and marshes. So here's what is described as a sleeping antelope. Naturally, this animal would live on the plains. Here's a great shot of a rhinoceros. So you got rhinoceros hanging out. They got lots of grass. Oh, we're talking large savannas, large plains for animals grazing. There's lots of pictures of rhinoceros. Really neat. Who knows how old they are, but I guarantee you they are pretty old. I have pictures of giraffe this far up north. Pretty cool. There are, again, lots of pictures of giraffes. Some of them even look to be domesticated. We have obviously a human here with a spear and then some sort of deer creature on the back as well as a bunch of writings. Not sure if they're all done together, obviously, or different time periods, but just a really another cool picture. Here's one I'm not sure what it is. It's either a lion or probably more likely a charging bull. It's on quite a stone that's quite weathered. Very neat. There aren't too many pictures of lions or any predators like that. I think mostly for the reason that these were grazing areas that were controlled, and probably the predators were wiped away from the grazing areas, so they wouldn't have been in the territory as much. But this could be a lion. So as the quote in the beginning from Plato said, wildlife as well as tame. So there are lots of pictographs and carvings of bulls and cows and goats as well, in large herds with people obviously controlling them. This picture in particular has a bull with a collar around it, as well as the second bull on the bottom that also appears to have a collar around it. Pretty interesting. I don't believe people have been grazing animals here for quite a while. They say that the bull wasn't introduced into northern Africa till before 4500 BC from the Middle East, but I believe that is incorrect. In the next video, I'm going to go over the domestication of the bull and cows in general in Africa, and how it's related to what I believe the city of Atlantis and the Atlantean people. So I hope you guys found that interesting. I encourage you again to just put Sahara rock art into Google and check out. There's hundreds of pictures and they're very cool to look at, very interesting. And so as I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. I got a bunch more coming up. Um, Thank you very much. Take care. Bye now.